Here's how a fishbowl works. In advance, you will receive a list of questions. The questions may be written by me, or the questions may be composed by the class, depending on the class. You will not know which group you're going to be assigned to. So when it's preparation time, you're going to want to prepare your notes for group 1 and group 2. Okay, so that's in advance. Think of that as like the homework to prepare for the fishbowl, preparing notes for here and for here, group 1 and group 2. Now, the day of, everybody comes into the room and you find out which group you're in, and you have 10 minutes to look over your notes. Then the inner circle and the outer circle form. So inner circle means you'll be sitting inside the circle of desks with your teammates, and the discussion will begin. And you'll have 20 minutes to do your fishbowl. Now we'll talk about what you should be doing during that time in a moment. If you're sitting on the outside of the circle, then you will have your own tasks. Here's what you do if you're on the inside of the circle. You're going to be responding to the prompts, these or these, depending on which group you're in. And the group that's on the outside is going to be evaluating your contribution to the discussion in different categories. Now, the thing I should point out is that every student is required to speak at least 3 times. But you don't need to worry, like, what if you're somebody who tends to hold back and you sometimes you're following discussion, but you don't have, new ideas to share necessarily. That's okay. You can always just pause, put up a hand and get people's attention and re-reflect, even if you don't necessarily have like your own idea. Re-reflecting counts as one of your 3 times. So, easiest thing to do in a fishbowl is you introduce an idea or ask a question or build on somebody else's idea. Sometimes we call it piggybacking. That's like normal class discussion. And just going, okay, so what you're saying is, and then you reflect. But other things you can do are you can connect the text or something, a point that somebody's making, to like a real world analogy, like, oh, that would be like if in my life this happened. Or if you connect one text to another text, that's a connection, and you get an X here. Another area that you can earn some credit is by either challenging somebody's idea. If somebody says something that you disagree with or you don't think is accurate, and you challenge them in a respectful, thoughtful way, or if you are challenged and you receive it in a professional and appropriate way. Being challenged is a good thing, and sometimes you're wrong in a discussion, and there's no harm in that. That's not going to affect your score. Even if you say something and you stand corrected and you're like, oh, okay, I can see where you're coming from, that's not a bad thing. So you actually earn credit for being challenged in a professional and respectable way. But also, if you defend your idea and it works, you get your credit, and that's challenging and being corrected. Then there's proof, which is that you not only make a point, but you also substantiate it with a quote. Now, you don't have to substantiate things that are common knowledge. We're only talking about things that are debatable. So, like, you're making a point that's like a really interesting way out there interpretation. You can back it up with a quote, then you get an X here. And the last category is leadership, where you might say, let's say the discussion is getting a little cloudy, and you're like, okay, so basically we have 2 different ideas on the table. Or you say, okay, let's move on to the next question because the topic is getting stale. Or there's a tangent, which I misspelled and have to fix, and you refocus the group. That's leadership. Another important one is if somebody isn't speaking and seems to have trouble getting a voice in, you might say, let's hear from so-and-so. But you don't need to put people on the spot. Just kind of check in with people in your group. That's leadership. And here's where the tabulation is made. If you're sitting on the outside of the circle, you'll have a job to do. You'll receive one of these questions at the beginning of class, and that's what you have to do during the time, is prepare some notes, like what ideas came up that you find insightful and who said them. Are the participants questioning and challenging each other? Give examples. Which aspects of the guiding questions appeared in the conversation, what questions remain. So that's your task to do during the fishbowl while you're observing. And then the other thing that happens is we're going to have a back channel discussion here where people will I'll make some notes, and then I'll insert a comment, and then the comment will be here. And I may ask you directly, if you're sitting on the outside of the circle, to comment on something, keep you on your toes, and participate in a digital way while the discussion is going on. Your score, the credit is you get 30 points for a fishbowl, and either you have all 30, or you have 80%, or you have none. None means you're not there that day and you need to do makeup. Okay, or but 80% would be if there are things that you're doing that you need to work on. So say, for example, if you're monopolizing, or you bring sarcasm into a fishbowl, or you do derail intentionally, or you're interrupting a lot, or you're dissing people's ideas, you may get an 80%, and you can recover those points in a way that we'll talk about later. But your score is either full credit, 80%, or or 0, which means not yet. You still have to make up the points. So that's the fishbowl. And once we start housekeeping, we'll check in and see what your questions are. I look forward to doing a fishbowl with you. It's going to be next class. Bye.